Good afternoon, chaps and chapesses. It's quite warm. It's about 25 degrees C, which is certainly warm enough for me. I'm wearing my mesh jacket again, which is always, well, it seems to be quite a theme at this time of year. This is my commute home. As you can see, it's a bit crap from a traffic point of view, but it should ease up in a minute. The mighty twin engine, whee! Oh, I was going to talk about Triumph Live on Saturday. Gorgeous. What a lovely day. Really, really sunny. I got sunburnt in about 2 hours, which is easily done, I suppose. But yeah, Triumph Live was lovely. Really good fun. The exhibits were really good. Jack Lilly exhibits especially. I do like their scrambler. It's all blacked out, ready for the apocalypse. But I've been doing a couple of things for someone who wanted to know the difference between, named Justin, nice chap from Canada, wanted to know the differences between a Thruxton and a Bonneville, so I did a bit of a walk around earlier, reeled off some stats, which I'll put into this video. Basically, as a new rider, depends on what you want really. I think the Thruxton is harder to ride. It's got shorter handlebars, they're bent, so the amount of leverage you've got is less. It's slightly higher up, the seat's higher, so if you've got short legs, go for the Bonneville. I think the toss-up would be between the T100 and the straightforward Bonneville or Bonneville SE, if you were worried about, if you were small of stature. Also, the Thruxton has more ground clearance, so you can lean it over further, mostly because the foot pegs are higher and the end cans, the exhausts, are swept up, so it gives you more angle as you lean over. I think the Bonneville, you're more likely to scrape the pegs before you scrape the cans. So what else? Well, the Bonneville's got magnesium wheels, the box standard one anyway has. 17-inch front and back. It's meant to be better for turning. Certainly easier to look after. If you don't want spoked wheels, then get the mag wheel Bonnie. You can always cafe up the Bonneville. The Bonneville's what, 500, 600, 700 quid cheaper than the Thruxton. Now, just change the handlebars and change a few bits and bobs. You can get a mag-wheeled Thruxton, really. Up to you, though. Gosh, that's mighty fun! Power's very similar. It's 1 brake horsepower, 1 foot-pound of torque in it. It all depends. Bonneville, lower seat height, wider bars, better manoeuvrability. I don't think it looks as good, but it depends on your riding style. If you want to just pootle around looking good, maybe being a bit more versatile. I mean, you can get more luggage on top of a Bonneville, mostly because the cans aren't upswept, so you can put your saddlebags on without worrying about the exhaust. So you can carry more stuff, but you can throw it around as well. Now, the foot pegs being lower will certainly help if you've got knee problems or particularly long legs. Now, I've got 33-inch inseam, 6'1", and I think this is about as cramped as I'd want to be on this Thruxton. The Bonneville's much more sit upright and just enjoy the lazy ride, you know, and it's more comfortable and it doesn't look too stupid with a touring screen, whereas a Thruxton would look stupid with a touring screen. So again, riding style and how you want to use it. Fuel consumption should be the same. Yes, you can put the same accessories on, like loud pipes. You can even have the Napoleon bar end mirrors on a Bonneville. So, makes no difference where you have the mirrors. You can have them up here if you prefer them up here, or you can have them up here, or down here, or wherever, or underslung. underslung like a Harley. Your call, really. You could make a Bonneville look just like this, and the only difference would be wheel size. Now the T100, which is much more classic, very Steve McQueen, rugged looking, that's a lovely bike. But again, it's a tarted up Bonneville. It's much more classic looking than the standard Bonneville, with bigger mudguard stays. But I think you've got the fork gaiters as standard, and the pipes are pea shooter pipes, not reverse megaphone. And that's a lot more classical looking. They are horizontal pipes, they're not swept up, so ground clearance could be an issue, but you've got more room for luggage, saddlebags, etc. Where's all this sodding sand come from? That's what I want to know. It appeared yesterday. A couple of other things. You get the with the Thruxton, you get the speedo and the tack. I prefer the look of the two dials. The bog standard Bonneville has one. The SE Bonneville has two, and I think the T100 has both as well. So it's a few £100 in it just to have a tack. Your call. But from a riding around day-to-day point of view, the Bonneville's just as nice. I just think the Thruxton looks so much sexier. And everyone loves a good rear end. I mean, this thing just looks beautiful, especially with the tail tidy, or if you prefer fender eliminator kit. All the upgrades you can do with the engine are across the board. You can do those on Bonnies or Thruxtons or Scrambler even.
Rear wheels is 17-inch 130 section on all the Bonneville, T100 and Thruxton. So the rear wheels are all the same, apart from the fact that on the Bonneville it's a magnesium alloy rather than spoked. Easier to clean, I suppose. But on the front, they're slightly different. On the Bonneville it's a 17-inch wheel with a 110 section. On a T100 it's a 19-inch wheel with a 100 section. And on the Thruxton it's 18 with a 100 section. So the Bonneville is 1 inch smaller than the Thruxton, but has a slightly wider tyre. I think it's lower as well, higher on the Thruxton. So slightly slower turning as well on the Bonneville front tyre, but the wheel being smaller should stop that from being a problem. The T100 has a 19-inch front wheel, which means that it looks cool and it soaks up more of the bumps, but it doesn't turn in as well. Engine-wise, they're pretty much exactly the same, except the Bonneville and the T100 Bonneville have 69 brake horsepower, whereas the Thruxton has 70. Both Bonneville and T100 have 50 foot-pounds of torque, Thruxton 51 foot-pounds of torque. Very, very similar. The Bonneville is 5 kilograms lighter wet weight than the T100 and Thruxton. All three have the same tank capacity of 16 litres, and you get around 45-50 miles to the gallon in general. So we've got a wet weight of 225 kilograms for the Bonneville and 230 kilograms for the T100 and Thruxton. Seat heights. Now, the lowest seat height is the Bonneville of 740 millimetres, then the T100 of 775 millimetres, and then the Thruxton of 820 millimetres. Essentially that's it, apart from cosmetic things, such as the handlebars on the Thruxton are bent, like clip-ons, but with high risers to make it more comfortable to sit on. The Bonneville handlebars are much wider and straighter, so you get a bit more manoeuvrability and lighter feel to the steering. So if you're not very strong or very short, then the Bonneville is easier to ride than the Thruxton. Personally, I prefer the looks of the Thruxton, especially since I took the rear mudguard off, which is called the Fender Elimination Kit in America. We call it a tail tidy, and it looks pretty cool. I think you'll agree. Obviously the Thruxton's the one with the bar end mirrors as standard. The others have mirrors coming out of the control switch. And that's about it really. Differences really are exhaust, peg position, seat height, weight distribution, wheel sizes and handling, with the difference between the straight bars and the bent bars.
Max torque is at 5,500 revs, max power is at 7,500 revs, and the rev limiter kicks in just before 8,000, somewhere around there. If I wanted magnesium wheels, because they're a lot easier to look after, than spoked wheels, I'd get the bog standard Bonnie, and then I'd do a few cosmetic changes here and there, to such as bar end mirrors, maybe even bendy handlebars like this, rather than the straight handlebars. And I don't like the mirrors up in the air like this. I think it's a bit 1970s Honda. Anyway, I'm going to piss around with camera angles now. So that was Amersham Old Town, so old they called it old. Yeah, a bit of originality there with the name, Amersham Old Town. It's because there's an Amersham a bit further up the hill, which is the newer Amersham. But they do not call it Amersham Newtown, they just call it Amersham. Crazy days, eh? So, there are a couple of views. Now, apart from the differences between the Thruxton and Bonneville, which is what I've been going on about to almost 13 bloody minutes, is how are they as a first bike? I've had this Thruxton for 10 months. I had a street triple before that for a year, and that was essentially my first big bike. I would argue that was perfect as a first bike because it was so easy to ride that if you got in a lot of trouble, it got you out of it. For example, going into a roundabout far too fast, and the street triple saves your life because it handled so well. The Thruxton handles differently to a street triple. You don't feel the weight much more, and you can do this quite easily. I mean, it's very easy to throw about. It isn't as much power as the street triple, which may appeal to some new riders. But as a first bike, really, I mean, there's not much difference between this and a Kawasaki 500. It's still a parallel twin. It's just got a bit more oomph. Having the bent handlebars, as mentioned till the cows come home, does reduce manoeuvrability a bit, but you get used to it. I mean, it's the difference between cycling a road bike as opposed to cycling on a mountain bike. Mountain bikes feel more stable because you've got wider, straight handlebars, whereas with a road bike you've got shorter, narrower, curly handlebars, so you don't feel like you've got as much feel. I don't want to insult anyone under the age of, say, 25, but I think this bike would bore a slightly younger chap or girl, because it doesn't have as much acceleration as maybe you'd like. It doesn't beat every car off the lights. It beats a lot of cars off the lights. But if you're into that speed thing and you don't want to just mess around, have a bit of fun from time to time, I could do a track day on this and love it. Yes, my conclusion is yes, the Thruxton would be a very good first bike if you're slightly older, say over 28 years old, and you're not too fussed about crotch rocket sports bikes, and it's more about the image and just enjoying yourself. There you go, conclusion over. I think I've covered everything here. Hurrah! Alright, tally bally ho, toodle pip, squiddly bum. Ta-ra! Hurrah!